At my daughter's graduation, my ex-husband whispered, "Look at the audience. Do you see him?" I turned to scan the crowd and my blood went cold. A man who destroyed our marriage was sitting 3 rows back, recording everything on his phone. My name is Sarah. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I'm 34 years old, and I thought the worst chapter of my life was behind me. The divorce from Marcus was finalized 2 years ago. The custody battle was over. My daughter Zoe was thriving. I had rebuilt everything from scratch, found my footing again, started dating someone wonderful. Life felt stable, predictable, safe. I should have known better than to trust that feeling. It was supposed to be a perfect day, Zoe's 8th grade graduation from Riverside Middle School. She'd worked so hard all year, made honor roll every quarter, and I was bursting with pride. I'd taken the morning off work, gotten my hair done, bought a new dress specifically for this moment, even picked out a special bracelet to give her afterward, one that had belonged to my grandmother. This was our day, our celebration. Marcus had been surprisingly cooperative about the whole thing. Usually, any event involving Zoe turned into a negotiation nightmare. Who sits where, who takes photos, who gets to post on social media first. But this time, he'd simply texted me the week before saying he'd be there and hoped we could both focus on making it special for Zoe. I was cautiously optimistic. Maybe we were finally learning how to co-parent like adults. I arrived at the school early, wanting to get good seats in the auditorium. The place was already buzzing with families, everyone dressed up, cameras ready. I found a spot in the 4th row where I'd have a clear view of the stage. I saved the seat next to me for Marcus, even though part of me hoped he'd sit somewhere else. Old habits. When he showed up, he looked nervous. More nervous than I'd seen him in years, actually. He kept checking his phone, scanning the room, fidgeting with his tie. I assumed it was just typical Marcus anxiety about public events. He'd always been uncomfortable in crowds, especially ones where he might run into people from our old life together. The ceremony started beautifully. Principal Martinez gave a lovely speech about growth and potential. The kids looked so grown up in their caps and gowns. I was recording everything on my phone, trying to capture every moment. When they called Zoe's name for her Academic Achievement Award, I almost cried right there. She walked across that stage with such confidence, such grace. For a moment, I forgot all about Marcus beside me, forgot about everything except how proud I was of my daughter. That's when he leaned over and whispered those words that changed everything. "Look at the audience. Do you see him?" His voice was shaky, urgent. I followed his gaze, and that's when I saw him. David Chen, sitting there like he belonged, like he had every right to be at my daughter's graduation. David Chen, the man who had systematically destroyed my marriage from the inside out, not through some dramatic affair or obvious betrayal, but through months of careful manipulation that I didn't even recognize until it was too late. He had been Marcus's business partner, his best friend, someone I'd welcomed into our home countless times, someone I'd trusted. I felt my hands start to shake. The program I was holding crumpled in my grip. All the progress I'd made, all the healing, all the careful rebuilding of my life, and there he was, recording my daughter's graduation on his phone like some proud family member. Marcus noticed my reaction. "Sarah, I can explain," he whispered urgently, but I couldn't hear him over the roaring in my ears. The last time I'd seen David Chen was in a lawyer's office 18 months ago when his lies had nearly cost me custody of Zoe. The lies that painted me as an unstable mother, an unfit parent who couldn't be trusted with her own child. I remembered sitting in that sterile conference room while my lawyer laid out David's statement, how he claimed I'd been drinking heavily during the separation, how he said I'd left Zoe alone multiple times while I went out, how he described me as erratic and vindictive and potentially dangerous. None of it was true, not a single word, but it sounded convincing coming from Marcus's respected business partner, someone who claimed to have witnessed my supposed breakdown firsthand. The worst part was that Marcus had let him do it. My own husband had sat there while his best friend lied about me under oath, and he'd said nothing to stop it. That betrayal cut deeper than any affair ever could have. Now here David Chen was, at Zoe's graduation, acting like he had some role in her life, some right to document this milestone. I watched him zoom in on her face as she received her certificate, and something cold and furious settled in my chest. I turned to Marcus. Why is he here? I kept my voice low, but it was taking every ounce of self-control I had not to make a scene. Why is David Chen at our daughter's graduation? Marcus looked like he might be sick. Sarah, please, not here, not now. We can talk about this later. But I was done with later, done with his explanations and his excuses. No, Marcus, we're talking about this now. You brought the man who tried to destroy me into our daughter's graduation. I want to know why. He glanced around nervously, probably worried about people overhearing. He's been helping me with some things, legal things, financial things. He said he wanted to see how well Zoe was doing, to make sure she was okay. The audacity of it hit me like a physical blow. Make sure she was okay? From the man who claimed I was an unfit mother? From the man who lied in court about my parenting? My voice was getting louder, despite my efforts to stay calm. That's when I noticed something that made my blood run even colder. David wasn't just recording the graduation randomly. He was focusing specifically on Zoe, zooming in on her face, capturing her talking to teachers, documenting everything with the methodical precision of someone building a case. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't about celebration or support or making sure Zoe was okay. This was reconnaissance. This was David Chen still playing his long game, still working his angles, still trying to find ammunition to use against me. I grabbed Marcus's arm. What did you promise him? I hissed. What did you tell him he could have? But before Marcus could answer, the ceremony was ending. Kids were throwing their caps in the air, families were standing and clapping. Zoe was looking around for us, her face bright with excitement and accomplishment. I stood up and clapped for my daughter, but my eyes never left David Chen. He was still recording, still documenting, still scheming. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt that familiar knot of dread forming in my stomach. The same dread I'd felt when I first realized my marriage was over. The same dread I felt sitting in family court, fighting for my right to be a mother to my own child. The same dread that told me this was far from over. Whatever Marcus and David were planning, whatever they thought they were going to accomplish, they had made one crucial mistake. They underestimated me before, and I'd let them. They'd caught me off guard, unprepared, too trusting. Not this time. As Zoe ran towards us, diploma in hand and joy on her face, I smiled and opened my arms to hug her. But over her shoulder, I kept my eyes locked on David Chen. And I started planning my next move. The reception after the ceremony was held in the school cafeteria, decorated with silver and blue streamers. Families clustered around tables laden with shake cake and punch, everyone taking photos and congratulating each other.
Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story.
I stayed close to Zoe, watching her beam as teachers praised her achievements, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. David Chen had positioned himself near the punch bowl, still holding his phone, still recording. He'd changed his angle now, focusing on capturing Zoe's interactions with me. Every time she hugged me, every time we laughed together, every moment of our mother-daughter bond was being documented by this man who'd once sworn under oath that I was unfit to parent her. Marcus appeared at my elbow, carrying 2 cups of punch. Sarah, we need to talk privately. I took the cup, but didn't drink. Start talking. He glanced around nervously. Not here, too many people. Can we step outside for a minute? I looked at Zoe, who was showing her diploma to Mrs. Rodriguez, her favorite English teacher. I'm not leaving my daughter alone with him lurking around. Marcus followed my gaze to David. He's not going to do anything. This is just a school event. Then why is he here, Marcus? And don't give me some garbage about wanting to see how well she's doing. I want the truth. He ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit I remembered from our marriage. Things have been difficult since the divorce. Financially, I mean. The business took a hit when we split assets, and David's been helping me get back on my feet. That doesn't explain why he's at our daughter's graduation. Marcus looked at his shoes. He's been asking questions about Zoe, about her living situation, her schooling, whether you're providing adequate care.
He thinks maybe the custody arrangement should be revisited. The punch cup slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor, red liquid splashing across my new dress. Several people turned to look, and I forced a smile while grabbing napkins to clean up the mess. But inside, I was screaming. "You brought him here to spy on me," I whispered, crouching down to pick up the broken pieces. "At our daughter's graduation, you let him come here to build a case against me?" "It's not like that." Marcus knelt down to help me. "He just wants to document that she's happy and well-adjusted, to show the court that she's thriving." I stood up abruptly, glass shards still scattered at my feet. "Show the court? What court, Marcus? Our custody agreement is final." The color drained from his face. "Sarah, please, let me explain properly. Can we go somewhere private?" But I was done with his explanations. I walked over to where Zoe was still chatting with her teacher and gently touched her shoulder. "Sweetheart, I need to make a quick phone call. Stay right here with Mrs. Rodriguez, okay? Don't go anywhere with anyone else." Zoe looked confused but nodded. I walked toward the hallway and Marcus followed me. Once we were out of earshot of the other families, I turned on him. "You have 30 seconds to tell me what's really going on before I call my lawyer." Marcus's carefully maintained composure finally cracked. "David thinks he can prove you're not stable. He's been tracking your social media, taking screenshots of your posts, documenting your dating life. He says you're prioritizing men over Zoe's well-being." I stared at him in disbelief. "I've been on exactly 3 dates in 2 years, and Zoe wasn't even aware of them. What are you talking about?" "That picture you posted last month. You were out at dinner with some guy drinking wine. David said it showed a pattern of irresponsible behavior." The picture he was referring to was from my friend Jessica's birthday dinner. I'd had 1 glass of wine with a group of girlfriends and posted a photo of us toasting her. There was no man in the picture, no indication of irresponsible behavior, nothing that could be construed as putting Zoe at risk. "Marcus, that was a girls' night out for Jessica's 35th birthday. I was home by 10 p.m., and Zoe is at your house that weekend anyway." He shifted uncomfortably. "David thinks context doesn't matter. What matters is perception. And he thinks he can build a case that you're more interested in dating and partying than being a mother. Based on 1 photo of me having dinner with friends? Based on a pattern he's been documenting for months. Your social media activity, your work schedule, the fact that you've been leaving Zoe with babysitters more often." I felt like I was losing my mind. I leave her with babysitters when I'm at work, because I have a job, because I pay bills and buy groceries and take care of our daughter like a responsible adult. He also has concerns about your living situation. The apartment you're renting doesn't have a yard. Zoe doesn't have her own bathroom. He thinks she'd be better off living with me full-time. That's when everything clicked into place. Marcus's sudden financial difficulties, his willingness to work with David again despite everything that had happened, his nervous behavior at the graduation. This wasn't about Zoe's well-being at all. "How much is he paying you?" I asked quietly. Marcus's face went pale. "What? David, how much is he paying you to help him take my daughter away from me?" "It's not like that." "Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're conspiring with the man who lied about me in court to steal my parental rights. So I'll ask again, how much is he paying you?" Marcus looked around frantically as if someone would rescue him from this conversation. "He's not paying me. He's helping with business expenses, legal fees. The lawyer for the custody modification petition was expensive." My heart stopped. "The custody modification petition? We filed last week. David helped me prepare the paperwork. He documented all the evidence about your unstable lifestyle, your inability to provide a proper home environment, your pattern of putting your social life ahead of Zoe's needs." I backed against the wall, feeling like the hallway was spinning around me. "You already filed? Without telling me?" "You'll get the official notice in a few days. David thought it would be better to have everything prepared before you knew what was happening. He said you'd try to interfere if you found out too early." The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Not just from David, who I had expected nothing better from, but from Marcus, the man who had once promised to love and protect me, the father of my child. He'd been planning this attack for months, documenting my life, twisting my normal activities into evidence against me. "You recorded me," I said slowly. "When you picked Zoe up for your weekends, when we talked at school events, when I thought we were just co-parenting. You were gathering information for him." He couldn't meet my eyes. "I was protecting my daughter's future. David showed me research about children from broken homes, statistics about single mothers who prioritize dating over parenting. He helped me see that Zoe would be better off in a stable, two-parent household." "What two-parent household? You're not married, Marcus. You're single too." His face flushed red. "Actually, I'm engaged. To Rebecca. David introduced us 6 months ago. She's a pediatric nurse, very stable, great with kids. She already loves Zoe like her own." The world tilted sideways. Not only was Marcus trying to take my daughter away, but he'd already replaced me with someone else. Someone David had chosen for him. Someone who fit into their perfect little plan for Zoe's life. Does Zoe know about Rebecca? We've been taking it slow, letting them get to know each other gradually. Rebecca's been at some of my weekend visits, helping with homework, cooking dinner. Zoe really likes her. I felt sick. While I'd been working extra hours to pay for Zoe's piano lessons and summer camp, while I'd been careful to keep my minimal dating life completely separate from my daughter, Marcus had been introducing her to her potential stepmother. And Zoe hadn't said a word about it. "You told her not to mention Rebecca to me." Marcus nodded reluctantly. "We thought it would be better to wait until things were more settled. David said it would be confusing for her to deal with your reaction before the custody situation was resolved." David said. David thought. David helped him see. Every sentence revealed how completely Marcus had fallen under this man's influence. The same way he had during our marriage, when David's suggestions about my behavior, my friendships, my choices had slowly poisoned my husband against me. I pushed past Marcus and walked back toward the cafeteria, my mind racing. I needed to get Zoe and leave immediately. I needed to call my lawyer. I needed to start preparing for a fight I thought was over 2 years ago. But when I reached the doorway, I stopped cold. Zoe was no longer standing with Mrs. Rodriguez. She was across the room, talking to David Chen. He was crouched down to her eye level, showing her something on his phone, both of them smiling. My daughter was having a friendly conversation with the man who was trying to destroy her life, and she had no idea. I marched across the cafeteria, my heels clicking against the linoleum floor with sharp determination. Other parents smiled and nodded as I passed, completely unaware of the war being waged in their midst. When I reached Zoe and David, I placed my hand firmly on my daughter's shoulder. "Zoe, we need to go now." She looked up at me with confusion. "But, Mom, Mr. Chen was just showing me pictures of his trip to Japan. He brought back some really cool origami paper for me." David stood up slowly, that same calculating smile I remembered from our marriage. "Hello, Sarah. You look wonderful. Zoe's been telling me about her academic achievements. You must be so proud." I kept my voice steady and pleasant, aware that other families were within earshot. "Thank you for your kind words about Zoe. I'm sure you understand that we have family plans this evening." "Of course," David said smoothly. "I was just saying goodbye." He turned to Zoe and handed her a small gift bag. "These are for you, sweetheart. Some special paper and a book about Japanese paper folding. Maybe you can show me what you make the next time we see each other." The casual assumption that there would be a next time made my skin crawl, but I maintained my composure. "Say thank you to Mr. Chen, Zoe, and then get your things. We're leaving." As Zoe gathered her diploma and the flowers I'd brought her, David stepped closer to me. "She's growing up so fast," he said quietly. "It's important that she has stability during these crucial developmental years. I'm sure you agree." I met his eyes directly. The only thing my daughter needs stability from is people who would manipulate her for their own purposes. His smile never wavered. "I think there might be some misunderstanding about my intentions. I only want what's best for Zoe. Sometimes that means making difficult decisions. The only decision you need to make is to stay away from my family." David glanced around the room, noting the family still celebrating nearby. "Your family? From what Marcus tells me, you're more focused on building a new family these days. Dating apps, weekend outings, leaving Zoe with strangers while you explore your options." I felt my jaw clench but kept my voice low. I don't know what fantasy you and Marcus have constructed, but my focus has always been on being the best mother I can be. Of course it has. I'm sure the court will take that into consideration when they review the evidence we've compiled. The photos, the witness statements, the documentation of Zoe's emotional needs not being met. That's when I realized David wanted me to lose control here, in front of all these witnesses. He wanted me to make a scene, to shout, to appear unhinged and unstable. It would be perfect evidence for his case, the unfit mother having a breakdown at her graduation. Instead, I smiled. I appreciate your concern, David. I'm sure my attorney will be very interested to hear about your involvement in this situation. Your attorney? Oh, yes. I've been documenting some interesting patterns of behavior myself. Harassment, intimidation, filing false reports. I'm sure the State Bar Association would be fascinated by your methods. David's smile tightened. I have no idea what you're suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating facts. And unlike some people, I have evidence to back up my claims. Before he could respond, Zoe returned to my side, clutching her flowers in David's gift bag. Ready, Mom? I put my arm around her shoulders. Perfect timing, sweetheart. I looked back at David one last time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. As we walked toward the exit, I could feel David's eyes following us. Marcus appeared from nowhere, falling into step beside me. Sarah, please, can we talk about this rationally? For Zoe's sake. I kept walking. We're going home, Marcus. If you want to discuss anything, you can have your lawyer contact mine. Come on, don't be like this. We can work something out without involving more attorneys. Think about how expensive that will be for both of us. I stopped walking and turned to face him. You already involved attorneys when you filed that petition behind my back. You made your choice. Zoe looked between us, her celebration mood starting to fade. Are you guys fighting again? I knelt down to her level, blocking out Marcus and David and everyone else in that room. No, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements about boring legal stuff, but it has nothing to do with you. Today is about celebrating how amazing you are and how proud I am of you.
She smiled, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Can we get ice cream on the way home? Absolutely. What flavor are you thinking? Mint chocolate chip. And maybe we can watch that movie we recorded last week. Perfect plan. I stood up and took her hand. Let's go celebrate properly. As we walked to my car, I could hear Marcus behind us. Sarah, this doesn't have to be a war. I didn't turn around. You started the war when you decided to betray your own daughter's mother. I'm just finishing it. That night, after Zoe had fallen asleep with her diploma on her nightstand and ice cream happiness on her face, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a legal pad. I started writing down everything I could remember about David's behavior during my marriage. Every manipulation, every lie, every attempt to isolate me from Marcus. Then I pulled up my phone and started screenshotting everything. Every text message from Marcus over the past 6 months. Every email about schedule changes. Every photo I'd posted on social media that they were trying to twist into evidence against me. I downloaded my bank statements, my work schedule, Zoe's report cards, her attendance records. I called Jessica, my friend who'd been with me through the divorce. I need your help, I said when she answered. What happened? You sound terrible. I told her everything. About David at the graduation, about the custody petition, about Marcus's engagement to Rebecca. Jessica listened without interrupting, which I knew meant she was furious on my behalf. What do you need me to do? She asked when I finished. I need witnesses, character references, people who can testify about what kind of mother I actually am, not the fiction David and Marcus are creating. Done. I'll call Amanda and Michelle too. We'll all testify. What about your neighbors? Mrs. Patterson loves you and Zoe. I smiled for the first time all day. Mrs. Patterson would probably volunteer to adopt Zoe herself if she could. See, you're not alone in this. And Sarah, David Chen messed with the wrong mother this time. Over the next week, I methodically built my defense. I hired the best family attorney in the city, a woman named Victoria Kane, who specialized in complex custody cases.
I gathered testimonials from Zoe's teachers, her pediatrician, her piano instructor. I documented every single interaction I'd had with Marcus since our divorce, showing a pattern of cooperation and putting Zoe's needs first. Most importantly, I discovered something interesting about Rebecca, Marcus's fiancée. A simple Google search revealed that she'd been fired from her previous nursing position for inappropriate conduct with a patient's family. Nothing criminal, but certainly not the paragon of stability David had presented her as. When the custody hearing finally arrived 3 months later, I was ready. Victoria had prepared a case that not only defended my parenting, but exposed the conspiracy between Marcus and David. We had evidence of David's lies during the original divorce proceedings, documentation of his harassment, and proof that Marcus had been coached in what to say and do. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Morrison, listened to both sides with obvious skepticism about Marcus's claims. When David took the stand as a witness, Victoria methodically tore apart his credibility, showing his history of manipulation and his clear bias against me. The turning point came when Zoe was interviewed privately by the court-appointed guardian ad litem. When the guardian returned to give her recommendation, she was clear and direct. "Your Honor, this child loves both her parents, but she has consistently expressed anxiety about the changes in her father's household and the pressure she feels to keep secrets from her mother. She has thrived in her current living arrangement and specifically requested that it not be changed." Judge Morrison delivered her ruling without hesitation. Motion for custody modification is denied. Furthermore, given the evidence of harassment and manipulation presented today, I'm issuing a restraining order preventing Mr. David Chen from having any contact with this family. Mr. Marcus Thompson, you are hereby warned that any further attempts to manipulate these proceedings or harass the mother of your child will result in sanctions. As we walked to the courthouse that day, Zoe skipped ahead of me toward the car, her backpack bouncing with each step. She turned around and grinned at me. "Mom, can we get ice cream again? I think this deserves celebrating too." I laughed and caught up to her, scooping her into a hug. "I think you're absolutely right, sweetheart. Mint chocolate chip? Always!" 6 months later, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Marcus and Rebecca were getting married in a small ceremony. There was no mention of Zoe being involved, which told me everything I needed to know about their priorities. I threw the invitation away and took Zoe to her piano recital. She played Chopin's Minute Waltz flawlessly, and afterwards, she found me in the audience and waved. "Did you see me, Mom? Did you see how good I did?" I waved back, tears of pride in my eyes. "I saw everything, baby girl. I saw everything." That night, as I tucked her into bed, Zoe looked at me seriously. "Mom, are you glad we didn't have to change anything?" "More glad than you'll ever know, sweetheart." "Good," she said, snuggling into her pillow. "I like our life just the way it is." "So do I thought, turning off her light. "So do I." 2 years have passed since that courthouse victory, and life has settled into a rhythm I never thought possible during those dark months of fighting for my daughter. Zoe is now in 10th grade, captain of her debate team, and still organizing her school supplies by color. Some things never change, and I'm grateful for that consistency. Marcus pays his child support on time now, no longer needing David's financial assistance after their business partnership dissolved following the court revelations. His marriage to Rebecca lasted exactly 8 months. Zoe mentioned it casually one afternoon while doing homework, the same way she might comment on the weather. No drama, no sadness, just acceptance that some adults make poor choices. The restraining order against David remains in place, though I heard through mutual acquaintances that he moved to Portland and started over with a new firm. Sometimes I wonder if there's another family somewhere dealing with his manipulation, but I've learned to focus on what I can control, rather than worrying about battles that aren't mine to fight. Zoe and I moved out of that small apartment into a house with a yard, complete with the lemon tree she'd always wanted. She tends to it religiously, checking for new growth every morning before school. Last month, we harvested our first crop and made lemonade that was so sour that it made our faces scrunch up, but we drank every drop while laughing until our sides hurt. The best part is watching her confidence bloom. She speaks up in class now, joins clubs without asking permission first, invites friends over without worrying about burdening me. The anxious child who once whispered apologies to accidentally stepped on bugs now stands at podiums arguing constitutional law with teenagers twice her size. Sometimes she asks about that day at her 8th grade graduation, though she's never known the full story. I tell her that grown-ups sometimes disagree about what's best, but what matters is that we figured it out together. She usually nods and moves on to more interesting topics, like whether we should plant strawberries next to the lemon tree or if her debate partner really likes her the way she thinks he might. Last week, she brought home her junior year course selection form, already filled out with advanced placement classes and college prep courses. At the bottom, in the section asking about career interests, she'd written, "Family Law Attorney." When I asked her about it, she shrugged and said someone needs to help kids whose parents can't figure things out on their own. I keep that form on my refrigerator now, right next to her latest report card, and a photo of us at her most recent piano recital. Every morning when I'm making coffee, I see it and remember that the hardest battles sometimes lead to the strongest people. The graduation announcement for her high school ceremony arrived yesterday. This time there's no anxiety about who will attend or what drama might unfold. It's just excitement about celebrating another milestone with the people who genuinely love and support her. Marcus will be there, and that's fine. He's learned to be a better father, though it took nearly losing his daughter to figure out what that meant. David's shadow no longer looms over our family gatherings or color our conversations. But mostly I'm looking forward to watching my daughter walk across that stage, knowing that this time every person in the audience is there for the right reasons. No hidden agendas, no secret recordings, no manipulation disguised as concern. Just a mother watching her child succeed, surrounded by people who genuinely want to celebrate that success. It's a simple thing, really, but after everything we've been through, simple feels like the greatest victory of all. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.